Hello, I'm Dawn Durham, and welcome to PaTTANpod. In order for students to be successful, no matter the age or content being taught, students have to have access to the learning. We all need to think about accessibility. There are lots of tools available to help us design and deliver instruction that is available to everyone. Lindsey Troyanoski is here to help us understand the strides Microsoft has taken to assist schools in ensuring accessibility. Lindsey, thanks for stopping by PaTTANpod today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I want to talk a little bit, I think we're all familiar with some of the accessibility features like enlarging the print on a screen or narrator, but what else is there that Microsoft has to offer that might expand our knowledge of what we can do?
Yeah, I think a lot of teachers, kind of know about those basic ones that we kind of always think about. But, Microsoft has really expanded to going into kind of some of these learning tools, right? So things like Immersive Reader that allow your students to have text read aloud on the screen, things like dictation that allow your students to actually speak and then have it typed for them. There are text suggestions, which are kind of built into some of our products as well. Editor within Word that can help your students within their writing. So there's a lot of, different tools that kind of are, built right into our already used tools that teachers and students are already using, but we just don't know about them. And I think that a lot of it has to do with just the fact that, we're used to using them a certain way, and we didn't know that all of these new and great features are there and built right in. So I definitely think those learning tools and really the tools that we have for around the classroom are the tools that teachers need to know about.
I'm listening to you say this, and these are tools that are already built into a system we know and are familiar with. We're currently using in all of our classrooms, as it is anyway. But I'm listening to you talk about some of these learning tools: dictation, editor, text suggestions. Are these not tools anyone could benefit from? I mean, this sounds like we shouldn't really be. And I think maybe in the past we've kind of said, okay, that these accessibility tools are for this subpopulation of students, but it sounds like this is useful for everyone.
Absolutely. And I really, that's something that I try to bring to all of my trainings is, hey, even if you are a general education teacher teaching a health class in 7th grade or, what have you, you can use these tools. Your students can use these tools. And then kind of broadly, we can push these tools out to everyone, right? These are not just kind of for a specific set of students. Or for a specific set of children, really. These are for adults. These are for, all ages of people, because technology is a tool for everyone, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great message that we have to remember. These are tools for everyone. And you had said it perfectly, children and adult learners. I mean, you and I could be using these tools just as effectively as we'd want an 11-year-old or a 16-year-old to be using these tools. So I think that's a key piece. Now, this is something that those who are watching or listening to this episode are going to ask. Where do I find these tools? How do I access them? And what will it cost me to engage with these features?
Yeah. So you can find them on Office 365. You, as teachers and students, have access to free Office 365. And then also most schools already have a licensing, whether it's a paid for licensing or the free basic licensing. Just by going to office.com and trying your email and password at office.com, you can log into Office 365 and you can access all of these tools right there on the Office 365 portal. I think some of the time schools do some training around these things, but sometimes, it just kind of falls through the cracks. So that's why, I provide free trainings for schools and teachers and students to kind of bring that awareness around these tools that you have access to. But absolutely, they are in all of your Office tools already, your Word, your PowerPoint, your Outlook, your Excel, and then on the browser, on any browser, office.com can take you to Office 365.
So we have access today, currently, we have access to all these tools. It's a matter of going out, taking a few minutes to go and access them, locate them, whether you have them, on the platform you're using or visiting office.com, you had said, to go and access those tools. I think that's key. Now, you did mention the kind of the professional development end of these accessibility tools and how to use them, how to incorporate them into your instruction, into your design of a lesson and delivery of a lesson. And I know that you've developed some videos for PaTTAN here to really push out this content for folks. And you have, there's a couple of videos that we have currently available on our site. Tools for Access Translator, Tools for Access Learning Tools, Tools for Access Windows 10 Accessibility, and then Tools for Access Authoring Accessible Content. Can you just briefly share a little bit about each one of these so we can get a sense of what I would be learning and gaining from these videos?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, first starting with the translator video, really Microsoft Translator is a free tool. Anyone can get it on their phone, on their device. You can even access it through any website browser. And really what that allows you to do is it allows you to have conversations in multiple languages at one time. So if I were speaking in English, and we would want to be translating this to multiple languages at once, we could do that using Microsoft Translator. We also have a conversation option for Microsoft Translator that allows you to real-time translate on your device. So that's really great for things like parent-teacher conferences, even impromptu meetings with parents in the hallway, right? Where you may not know if they have their own device. So you can use your own device to do that. Our learning tools segment is really about the tools that we have for use in the classroom. And like you said before, Dawn, these are tools that anyone can use, but I'm putting the spin on it from the former educator perspective and from the educator brain that I have to say, how can we really utilize these tools in the classroom? So things like Immersive Reader that's now built into things like Microsoft Forms and Flipgrid to actually have your students be accessing the content by hearing it aloud, right? And then also things like separating by syllables and real-time translation is actually built into the Immersive Reader as well. So the learning tools segment is all around, how you can actually use these features and tools in different types of classrooms. Okay. And then our Windows 10 accessibility segment is really talking about the operating system as a whole and kind of what features you have access to if you go out and you buy a Windows 10 device, whether that's a Dell computer or a Lenovo or what have you, you have access to these Windows 10 accessibility features in the operating system as a whole. Things like Narrator, which is an on-screen narration, text suggestions that I had mentioned earlier, which mimics, as we're typing a text, the text suggestion kind of comes up above it to allow us to kind of get that verbiage. We can kind of use that in the operating system itself. And then our tools for access, authoring accessible content piece is all about actually using the accessibility checker that not a lot of people know about, that is built right into all of our Office products to actually create accessible content. So a lot of times I talk to teachers and they say, if I have a student with visual impairments walk into my room tomorrow, my content would not be accessible to that student, and that worries me. So, I'm providing kind of the overview of the tools, and then those teachers are going out and using that accessibility checker, which essentially just checks your document or checks your file for things like alternative text that people using screen readers will need to access that content. So it's really just about bringing awareness to these, accessibility features that are already built into the tools that we're using on a day-to-day basis.
So it sounds as we have anything from languages to be able to translate between multiple languages, of which we know we need in classrooms today, utilization of these tools across a wide variety of contexts and classrooms, the operating system itself, but then also, being able to create and check your work to ensure that anyone entering your classroom or your meeting or your event has access to what it is that they need. And even myself, I could sit there and say, I'm not confident that everything I create is accessible. That would be a way for me to check it and ensure that I am providing access to whatever it is I'm sharing with students or adults or colleagues.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's just a good life rule, kind of. Yeah. I try to push it out as you wouldn't send something out without using the spell checker, right? That's just kind of common knowledge. We've gotten so used to using spell check. So why send something out if you don't know if it's accessible? Because, that can just set you kind of up for failure. So you want to make sure when you're using that spell checker, just go in there and use that accessibility checker as well to make sure all of your files and all of your documents are accessible, so that if somebody using a screen reader or if somebody who is colorblind is trying to access your document, you can ensure accessibility for them.
I think that's a wonderful piece, and I encourage people to go and check out these videos on the PaTTAN website, but also, kind of play around with these features. Go and find them in the platform that you have, or reach out to office.com, online to inquire or learn, or and I think just a little self-digging nowadays around with your colleagues, what you have on social media platforms and online platforms. You could find a lot of information to help you not only access these tools, but really learn how to use them and use them effectively in the classroom. So I think
Absolutely.
That's a key piece. So I think that's, and I encourage people to go ahead and do that. And I know you're always available also to help out, especially here in the state of Pennsylvania. So we're so glad we have you. Let me ask you this, and one of the goals we have here is to really create a sense of growing professionally and educationally. We want people, especially on a content like today, to really reach out and say, this isn't something I knew about, I want to get better, I want to refine and enhance my skill set. What advice might you offer to those in the field to kind of inspire them to grow?
Absolutely. And I think, we as educators kind of have that mindset of lifelong learning. How can we, empower ourselves, empower our students? So one of the things that I did want to share is we have free professional development on education.microsoft.com. This is going to take you to a slew of different courses and learning paths that can actually put you on the right track for things that you're going to want to provide to your students. We have courses on there all around inclusive learning and inclusive classrooms. We also have courses on there in conjunction with I forget their actual name, but it's a group in the UK who focuses on dyslexia awareness. So we actually have, put together some courses in conjunction with them as well. So it's really kind of around, just educating yourself on the tools that you have. And then, of course, educating your students, because if we can empower our students to be more accountable for their own learning, right, that's our end goal. So taking the courses provided, and a lot of them are around, 40 minutes to an hour, right? It's not a whole ton of time, but it's enough time that can give you kind of a feel for the tools. And they're actually provided by educators. So it's not a corporate trainer, saying, here's, how you can use Excel. It's an actual educator saying, hey, here's how I've used this in my classroom, and this is how my students have used it and how it has worked for them. So that's probably the number one resource that I always give all of my trainees to kind of go, and I always say it kind of acts as me, after I leave. That's their training resource. So I definitely encourage you to go check that out. And then we also have a Microsoft Education blog that blogs about kind of new and innovative tools, and also it brings in educators, and it has educators write posts about what they're doing around using the tools in their classrooms. So I definitely encourage you to check that out as well. And you can just search Microsoft Education blog for that one.
So we really, we want to educate ourselves while we're educating others and our students. So, and you had said, let me get this website right, education.microsoft.com.
Yep,
free professional development courses, 40 minutes to an hour. We can invest that time to learn about these features. But then also, and I think one of the key features that I really liked about those courses is that you see educators, you see those of us who are, in the classrooms, using it, utilizing it, coming across hurdles, and they can explain, hey, this was a hurdle, this is how we overcame it. And I think that's powerful. And leading right into that is that Microsoft Education blog, which also
Yep.
has that teacher voice to it, which I think is powerful.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad you
Yeah.
shared those resources with us, in addition to the videos that are on the PaTTAN site. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Lindsey, thank you so much for being with us today too. You know, it's great to be able to know what's already out there that we're just not utilizing to the top of the ability that we could. So I'm so glad that you were able to share some of those resources with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm always available for questions or trainings and things like that. So definitely let me know.
Good to know. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you in the field. You inspire educational growth in your students every day. A special thank you to John Ragsdale for producing this podcast. We'll see you next time on PaTTAnpod.